Alright guys, here's my second try at this video. When I use my cell phone, it doesn't work as well for the visual. It gets a little blurry sometimes, but the audio is a lot better, so I'm going to try and explain these notes. Again, second video with my cell phone. Alright, so we've already seen zero exponents when we did division, which we're doing division again today. When we divide variables, the shortcut was to subtract their exponents. So 2 minus 2 is 0. Well, that means that I had the same amount of x's on the top as on the bottom, and no matter what the number is, if I have the same number on the top and the bottom divided by each other, they always divide, if it's the same amount, divide into each other to fit one time. So anything raised to the 0 is always going to be equal to 1. Why? Because these would cancel each other out to give me a 1. So that part wasn't the hard part. Why? Because anything to the 0 power would be a 1. So x to the 1 equals 1. Y to the 1 is 1, and 1 divided by 1 is 1. So when I have exponent outside and exponent inside, you multiply that exponent to all the exponents inside. So every exponent is going to end up being a 0. So anything to the 0 is a 1. So here we have 16 divided by 8, which is 2. And then we have x to the 0, which will be a 1. So 2 divided by 1 is just 2. Or you can even put it 2 over 1. And then the x is just x squared. And that's it. Alright, so the hard part was the negative exponents. So when we have negative exponents, you're going to move whatever we have, the variable, to the, I don't like how that's writing, to the opposite side. Once you move it to the opposite side of the fraction, you're going to change it to a positive. Okay. So whenever you see that variable that's negative, it tells you I don't belong here, I belong on the other side. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to move that variable to the opposite side and then make it positive. Since y to the 3 is already positive, you leave it where it's at. Now, since we moved it to the bottom, we left the top empty, so just put a 1. And then I end up with altogether 7 y's on the bottom, so it's going to be 1 over y to the 7th power. So do it again. Anything that's negative, move it first before you start dividing or subtracting or multiplying or whatever. So that's going to be x to the 7, and you already have a x to the 2 on the bottom, and you have a y to the 8 on the top. Only what's negative moves to the opposite side. The y is positive 8, so stays y to the 8th power, but now I have 9 x's on the bottom, so x to the 9. We have regular numbers, and those divide normally. 18 divided by 3 is 6. The x to the 5 is negative, so move it to the bottom and make it positive. And then you have y to the 6 on the top, y to the 5 on the bottom. So that'll be 6, y to the, we subtract them, so it's y to the 1, or just y. And then the x to the 5 doesn't have anything to divide with, so it just stays x to the 5, so this is our answer. Careful when you have a number or even just a negative in the front, that is separate from our variable. So here, the 2 stays on the top, but the x to the negative 2 moves to the bottom, where I already have an x to the 5 and a y to the 5. So that gives me 7 x's on the bottom, and then the y stays as it is because it has nothing to combine with. The negative moves to the bottom and then make it positive. You already have an x to the 4 on the bottom, and then anything to the 0 is 1. So on the top we left it empty, so it's a 1. 1 divided by 1 is just 1. and you have x to the 10th on the bottom. Skip number 6. You have x to the negative 3 on the top, so move it to the bottom. But then you have x to the negative 5 on the bottom, so move it to the top. Remember, if it's negative, it tells you I don't belong here, I belong on the other side. So move it to the opposite side of the fraction. Even if it was on the bottom, now it's on the top, now it's positive. I have y to the 6 on the top, y to the nothing, so it's a 1 on the bottom. Then divide, that means we subtract the exponents, so x to the 2, y to the 5. I should not have any negative exponents in my answer. Number 10, the area of a rectangle is this, the length is this, find the width. So since area is length times width, if they give me the area and they give me one dimension and they want the other one, that means I'm going to divide by that dimension. 3x to the 6, y to the negative 4. Numbers divide normally. So 81 divided by 3, 27. And then before I start dividing variables, meaning subtracting their exponents, I'm going to move that y to the 4 to the top and make it positive. Then I'm going to simplify. The x, since they're dividing, we subtract them, so that's a 4. And the y's, they're together on the top, so that means altogether I have 6 y's being multiplied. That's our answer. All right, that's it.